Okay, dear friends, now it's only this panel, and after that we have a possibility then to mingle over a glass of wine. But before that, I hope that we'll have an interesting discussion. And I would start with Larissa, like Annika said in the introduction. And I have to say, I mean, it's incredible. Here we have Larissa, who is responsible for the company Fortaco, in Narva, close to the Russian border, and Larissa is a woman and Russian-speaking woman. So how is it possible? And also, it would be interesting to hear about what you thought or are thinking about what has been discussed so far today.
Thank you. My name is Larissa Shabunova, and I am the Managing Director of Fortaco Estonia. As it was said, the company is based in Narva, and but basically it's not about working in a Russian environment where 95% Russian-speaking population lives, and basically in our company we also have majority of Russian-speaking people. But it's about being the manager, women manager or top management position in the company, where we have 95% of men. And the company which is operating in the heavy industry, so we are producing different metal structures for high-tech, material handling, offshore and mining industry, where we have a lot of engineers, technologists, so people really engineers from background. And our company was managed by men during 65 years. And then I was promoted as a woman on the position. And basically that was, first of all, it was a really brave decision which was done by my superior. And my superior is Swedish. And today we saw different presentations how Sweden society promotes the woman on the top management position. So basically that was a brave decision because at that time I think it was more shocking decision rather than positive decision, or how to say inspiring decision, because basically nobody was ready that the woman will manage the company in such kind of heavy industry business. And for myself, I think it took more than half a year just to prove that I can manage and I can do the work not worse, at least not worse than men, but it is appeared that during these years, I'm already 4 years on this position, the company has been developed in a really successful company in Narva. We are the second biggest employer. We recruited 200 new jobs. We have doubled up our net sales. We have attracted a lot of new business, new projects, new customers. And also we have tremendously increased the employer brand and employer image. So we can recruit, in spite now it's quite difficult to recruit talents, but we can recruit because the image of the company is quite positive. Also, I'm proud to say that in our management team we have, except me, also 2 women. So we are 9 persons, but 3 are women, myself. One is HR manager and another one is production director. So basically being woman on the position of production director is also really weird, weird situation. And I would say it was also quite a difficult decision, not only for me, but for her to take this, to take this opportunity or to take this challenge. And now, since 1 year, I have to say to her all the time that she is doing the great job, but she's always saying to me that, no, I'm not doing the great job, I'm underperform. So basically, what I say that it's really important to support the women on the management position by maybe by mentoring, by coaching, and by positive inspirational examples. But basically, this is my story.
Thank you, Larissa.
Yes.
Larissa.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story, and we have heard about many wonderful stories and studies that is supporting what you are saying. Martin, you represent the owners of many companies that you have invested in all over the Baltics. What is your impression when you have heard the discussion today? And do you, I mean, because for being a representative for the owner, you really have the possibility to have an impact on these issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Krister. So, hello everybody. I'm representing BaltCap. We are the biggest private equity and venture capital investor in the Baltic countries. We have our offices and teams across the 3 countries. So we invest in all three countries, and we try to look at companies where we as owners can add value, can grow them, and we aim to grow them into like business champions and to make them more transparent, etc. But I have
now I have to interrupt you. That was good, because you saw that with diversity you get more profit, you get more innovation. So. And exactly. I'm sure that you are putting a lot of focus on that.
I wanted to make a confession that in private equity industry, I just checked this morning that I think it's probably at the very bottom of women being represented in that field at all for some reason. It's less than 10% in senior positions. And actually it is a big issue throughout globally, I think, that there are so few women, especially in the private equity firms themselves, that are governing these companies, that I think the goal is to double it at least, to raise it to 20%. And the reasons for that are probably it might be the image of the business, that it's too masculine, or too much thought that there is not enough work-life balance. And the women in universities somehow decide not to join that industry. It's also a lot depends on the networks. That a lot of these sort of old industry players, they who have established the companies, the investment firms, they have the networks, and then somehow it relies on that. And so that's one of the things. But clearly, when investing in the companies, we have actually in our portfolio, we have many companies where there are women managers, even CEOs, and I think in the management boards, the majority of the companies, we have at least some women. So it's clearly something. I think it's a good initiative to have, but there are many practical points to it as well, that it might not happen that easily, especially in our environment where this is not sort of considered that normal as in some other countries maybe.
Yeah, I see, but I mean, it sounds so odd to me. It doesn't make sense. I mean, we have businesses, and what are they supposed to do? They are supposed to make profit. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And we have studies, all the studies, they show us that diversity actually add to profit and innovation and everything. And still, we are where we are. So now we have to change things, really, in order to achieve this money that is floating around. And it must be in the interest, for example, for you as an owner. So couldn't you then boost and encourage women to apply for jobs, and then have, we heard about sponsorships, mentorships, in order to make it possible, and in order to get diversity in the future?
Actually, personally, I've never thought of this being an issue, because somehow the environment where I'm working, at least with the people with whom I'm dealing with every day, we don't have any preference that we want to hire more male or more female. That we usually hire people based on merits. That whoever is a good candidate, that we try to pick the best candidates, that whoever they are, and so that's the way how.
Christian, your comment.
Yes, of course, it's absolutely right that you should have the best candidates with the merits are the best. I think one of the reasons that this Thomas produced the other Thomas is that you're looking at merits in a maybe in unconscious biased way. I don't think that all the companies are deciding that we don't want any women, but you think as a manager, if you're a male manager, that the merits that you have yourself is basically the merits that you want. And I think that what you see as the courageous companies, so they are taking in other kind of persons that having merits, but not exactly the same as the other ones, or not just somehow different, but sometimes really different. And one merit I experienced from Sweden is that to be in a parental leave is for many Swedish companies an important merit, actually, to have a good manager.
I can tell from my own history that I have a major in science of literature, and still I was recruited to the management team at Finnair, and I think what you said, it was actually quite brave of them to recruit a person with the major in science of literature for that position. But so I guess I was one of the few in Finland at that time with that background. But Larissa, how, I mean, when you became a manager for Fortaco, and then you have 95% of your workforce are men, how did they welcome you?
They were shocked. And of course it took, as I already said, it took quite a time just to prove that I can manage. But still, since I was already working in this company for quite a number of years, so they knew me from really positive perspective, and I managed to create a good team and also a good environment, and also to, how to say, the right atmosphere to and establish the right development program for the company. But still, we had some period when the company had to adapt to this decision. Moreover, maybe I will say that it's not only about the company where we work, but also about overall the business, because, for example, the customers, the suppliers, all the stakeholders, if you're talking about Ida Viruma, metal working cluster, so all companies are managed by men. And basically, I even had such situations that sometimes people didn't take me seriously. And the society was just not able to accept this decision. Whatever we do, they just don't accept. You only can be accepted when you deliver the results. And only after that they will take it seriously. So, but after that, it goes really smoothly. But you have to be consistent, you have to be strong, and you have to believe that you will do that.
Yeah. Now I have to defend Martin a little bit, because the company he is representing, BaltCap, is a very good company, very high when it comes to sustainability and ethical standards and so forth. But couldn't you, or shouldn't you now after this conference, figure out ways to have more diversity in the companies you own, and of course in your own company as well?
I fully agree that it's, but I think it somehow has to. We need to figure out the way how to have more candidates among the female gender, because that's where it starts. We need to have a selection of candidates whenever you try to recruit people, either to the investment firm or to the management positions and in the companies, and that maybe even starts from the school level, that you need to, like we looked at this unconscious bias before, that we need to stop telling people that some are better in math and then some are better in something else. And we have to somehow convince everybody that they should all, no matter where they come from or what's their background or gender, that they should all have the courage to apply for positions and have sort of ambition to do something more, and also be ready to fail, because that could be one of the reasons why there are not so many female candidates, that you're more afraid of failure, and obviously you will have some failures if you try to aim for the top.
Risto, earlier today, he referred to one mentorship program that was very successful, also globally successful in Finland, and I was actually a part of that. I was a mentor also for 2 years, I think. And we have actually, our organization, we have suggested in Estonia that why don't we put up a mentorship program for young female leaders in Estonia, and then we could add this Nordic dimension to it. Do you think, Larissa, could that be something?
Yes, of course. Of course, it would be really helpful. Yeah, definitely.
Martin, do you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, and you, do you like it? Hands up. Super. Then I can go back to Kaubanduskoja and tell them that here are a lot of people that would like to have such a program. Because I think that would be one way to actively help young female leader to advance in their careers.
But maybe also, if I may jump in, that the parental leave is probably one of the things that, at least in our country, it's quite common that you take maternity leave for at least a year or even longer. And for small companies, we have mostly small companies in Estonia. That's a huge problem if for a company, if sort of a top management person goes for a leave, that you don't have any replacement. It's very difficult to find one, and I think it hasn't been really in the culture to have paternity leaves, and that could, if that's promoted by the government or state, that could change things.
Yeah, like a little bit like the Icelandic model. Christian.
Well, there I can come back a bit about to my experience from Sweden. The Swedish system is in a way constructed that you have, normally you have a half year is the female in parental leave, and then half year is the man in parental leave. And many of the companies are then using this time of getting people in from outside to test them out, and then see if they can stay for this half year, or you get people the possibility to be a leader for a while and see if it works when you have this 6 months away. It's not, if a year is of course another thing, but trying to get 6 months for each, it's quite important. And I know, for example, one of the big Swedish companies that most people know, also here, IKEA, they are more or less forcing the male employees that are becoming fathers, and if they want to have a future in the company as a manager, it's good if they go on parental leave, because it represents the culture of the company. And I think that's a way you can do it. Then to say that it's obvious for both men and women to do that, then you don't really have this big problem that yes, the women are having a problem being away and not coming back, or being back away.
We could perhaps talk a little bit more about legislation. We touched upon it earlier. But at this point, I would also, since we have very knowledgeable people here in the panel, are there any questions to the panelists? There is one.
Can you stand up, please? Yes. I have a question for Mrs. Shabunova and also for Mr. Kõdar. Don't tell me you did all that you've done with 8 hours, 5 days work. And I'm just wondering, how much did you invest yourself to get into the position, and do you expect the same from your future employees?
Let's say that invested quite a lot. First of all, I have 3 educations, and between these educations, I always studied different things, and it's constant reading and so on. But also, it's a great passion to work. It's to more detail understand the situation, business, and constant learning from your stakeholders. But if I'm talking about my colleagues, then of course my expectations are high. But at the same time, I do my best to support. And basically, we do a lot of actions to promote internally our talents. So we believe that internally we can create much more talent pool rather than we recruit from outside. So from my perspective, yes, really high standards, but at the same time, really high support.
Martti.
Yeah, so I can only agree with Larissa was saying, that you have to be ready to invest your time and really be committed to what you're doing, and not give up if there are some failures initially. That you have to have the persistence to really stick to what you think is right, and look at it for a long term. Especially in our business, I've been working in BaltCap for close to 20 years already, and it is a very long-term position that if you join this private equity firm, you usually work for first 10 years to really learn what it is all about.
Time is flying, like we used to say at Finnair, but are there more questions? One last one, perhaps.
Questions? Questions?
Money. Money.
Everybody's watching at the watch. No questions.
No questions. Anyway, I think since we are running out of time, I would like to thank Larissa, Martin, and Christian for being here with us. And then I give the floor to Annika. Please.